South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate
Hi, I'm Arun Singh, and today we are diving deep into something that is concerning not only the city, but the entire world, and that is AMR, antimicrobial resistance. I'm going to break it down for you in a fun way, but before that, let's ask this gentleman here. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Raj.
Yeah, so we're going to go around and ask people about AMR. So Raj is going to tell us what AMR is.
I have no idea.
I don't know, it sounds like a movie theater.
Something new?
All men rise.
Antibiotic resistance?
Have you taken antibiotics ever?
Yeah, I have taken some antibiotics.
We take them only and only if the doctor recommends it and there is no other way to cure the disease.
I really take antibiotics.
Do you think hand washing is related to AMR, and how?
You won't get any bacteria to your hands, okay, because you're washing hands regularly, that's it.
I'm running a play school. Like, I have been teaching that to the children also in the school, that you should wash your hands every time you go to the washroom.
I'm very conscious about these guys. You know how many times I make them wash their hands?
How many times do you wash your hands in a day?
Every hour.
Is it your doctor's prescription usually? Do you also take them off the counter?
So I get my doctor's prescription, and every time I'm unwell over there, I just kind of pop them. For everything the doctors are giving these days, even for a small fever, if you have, they give antibiotics.
Mostly by doctor's prescription and sometimes out of the counter as well.
You just go to your local pharmacist and he'll just say that, oh, bachche ko khasi hai, bukhar hai. He'll just give you the amoxicillin, which is it's not required at first step.
Anything weird you heard about antibiotics?
Whenever you take, you have to complete the antibiotic dose. If you don't, then the bacteria, the things inside you come after you, oh, isne 3 din nahi khaya, iski aisi taisi kar do.
Take a guess. Which country is called the AMR capital in the world?
I think India.
Is it India?
Guessing India.
People keep taking antibiotics without supervision. And this without supervision causes much more antimicrobial resistance. This is going to be a bigger pandemic than what COVID is.
Now that we know how people are just popping antibiotics without knowing the villain AMR in their lives, let me take you to a quick explainer. India's got a bad case of the antibiotic blues. Now imagine a world where antibiotics aren't the miracle solution they once were. AMR is like that one relative who just won't leave, and it's not a guest you want to have over anyway. 410,000 kids under 5 die from pneumonia every year because of AMR. 417 per 1 lakh people are battling infections that used to be easy to treat. Let's decode this super bug spread. Animals are getting so many antibiotics, they are starting to think they are humans. So what is India's battle plan? National program on AMR containment, because containment is key, or so we've heard. Surveillance networks, because someone has to keep an eye on these super bugs. One Health approach, because humans, animals, and the environment are all BFFs. But in conclusion, India's got its work cut out, but with a solid game plan, some serious teamwork, and a dash of humor, we might just kick AMR to the curb. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, don't pop antibiotics like it's candy.
Welcome to NDTV Dettol's World Health Day special, Antimicrobial Resistance, a silent global threat. Antimicrobial resistance, which is AMR, is an escalating health crisis in India, putting millions of lives at risk. As AMR spreads, it's crucial to understand its causes, far-reaching consequences, and potential solutions. In this eye-opening discussion, our expert panel will explore the complexities of AMR from its impact on neonatal care to effective prevention strategies, necessary policy reforms, and the vital role of hand hygiene. This is perhaps one of the most important conversations we need to have about how we can tackle the growing threat of AMR together. Joining us today on the show are Dr. Indira Chakravarti, Padma Shri 2014 Public Health Expert, former Director of All India AIMS Public Health, and Chitranjan, National Cancer Institute, Government of India, Professor Neelam Clare, Padma Bhushan 2014. She's also a neonatology, Sir Gangaram Hospital, New Delhi. Dr. Narendra Saini, Chairman AMR Standing Committee, Indian Medical Association. Mr. Ravi Bhatnagar, Director of External Affairs and Partnerships, SOA Reckitt. Sunita George, Principal, Bombay Scottish. Thank you all so much for joining us today on this very, very critical conversation. To begin with, Dr. Chakravarti, I would like to ask you, when we talk about AMR, why is it such a concern? And also looking at it globally, why is it such a concern?
Ambika, I think AMR has gained a lot of importance recently because it is affecting the human beings, the plants, the animals, everyone around. And especially for disease control, the antimicrobial resistance, it not only impacting our everyday diseases, like common diseases, but also the ones which are very critical, like tuberculosis, like HIV, and also the neglected tropical diseases, which is very, very important. And also I think some of the procedures, like, which are life-saving procedures, like chemotherapy, or like cesarean sections, are also getting impacted upon because of this antimicrobial resistance. So I think it's an overall impact. And since it's also impacting on the animals and plants, so it's affecting our food production on a secondary manner, and therefore also food security if you look into it. So I think the impact of antimicrobial resistance is very wide. It's kind of an overall environmental issue, and therefore impacting on the health. And that's why I think today AMR is one of the most critical issues that one has to look upon if you have to remain healthy.
Okay,
so we have to control.
Thank you for putting that so well. Dr. Saini, if I can come to you, what are the significant drivers of AMR and how can we really address it?
AMR, I stand, it is the medicine which we use for killing the microorganisms. It is affecting, rightly said by Madam, it is affecting not only the human being, it is affecting the animals, it is having the crops, and as well as the environment. So we have to tackle all these issues together. The human being also, rational use of, why it happens is because microbes are very small organisms, but they are very smart. If you give them medicine, they get the resistance also. They develop tolerance towards that antimicrobial. So we have to be very careful about that. So what is happening today is an irrational use of antimicrobials. Irrational means whosoever is liking antimicrobials, if his brother has taken antimicrobials, they also start taking the antimicrobials. So judicious use of antimicrobials is very important. Then how much frequency? It's not like paracetamol or any other medicine, like you take it anytime. It has to be taken in a quantity. It has to be taken in a frequency, how many times in a day, and it has to be taken in how many days it has to be taken. So all these things have to be monitored, not only in a man, but it has to be monitored in animals, it has to be monitored in crops. Unfortunately, what is happening is these antimicrobials are used in the crops also, and it is being used abundantly. Tetracycline and sulfonamides are used in the crops. So what is happening is that we are consuming unknowingly in that. And secondly, it is going to the environment. So when it goes to the environment, because you, me, everybody is consuming, so it goes into the water. So you will find the traces of antimicrobials in the water also. And this slow consumption of antimicrobials is giving resistance.
Which is a huge challenge.
And another challenge, antimicrobials, it takes a lot of time to develop antimicrobials. It takes around 10 to 12 years to come into the market. If you see the first antibiotic, it was there in 1928, we got penicillin. But it came to the market in 1941. First consumption of penicillin was used in 1940. So it took around 12 years to come into the market. Same way happened now also. Yeah. It takes a lot of years to come into the antimicrobes in the market. The last antimicrobials which have come in around 2003. Wow. So after 2003, there is a dearth of this. So 1940 to 1960 was a very good era when we have lots of antimicrobials, they were coming. But now this is now is not there. The discovery of antimicrobial is not there. So, and lots of consumption is there, so antimicrobial resistance is developing. So these two things you combine together, you rightly said, it is going to be a third pandemic.
And we need to address it immediately. Dr. Claire, if I can come to you, how does AMR impact neonatal health, especially since you're dealing with children in NICUs, and what can healthcare providers do to mitigate this risk?
Thank you, Ambika, for having me on the panel, and sorry I couldn't join you physically, but I'm happy to join virtually. Well, neonatal infections or bacterial infections in newborn is a huge problem. 20% of morbidity is constituted by neonatal sepsis, that is the bacterial infections. And we lose something like 60,000 newborns annually because of neonatal infections, and most of them are antimicrobial resistant infections. And if you look at the financial burden, you look at the treatment, there is a study from India. If you look at the cost of treatment of a baby with the antimicrobial resistant infection versus non-resistant infection, the cost is something like more than double. It was seen that it was 4.8 lakh versus 1.8 lakh. And if you look at the long-term burden, many of these babies who survive, one is that the mortality is high. Second is that those who survive may be left with long-term sequelae. Like, a baby with meningitis may be left with the neurological sequelae. And then look at the burden of long-term life-adjusted years which the baby will lose because of neurological deficit. And as very rightly put by Dr. Saini, that, in intensive care units, since there is a high risk of infections, antibiotic usage is rampant. And sometimes it is irrational also. And the antibiotics go on for longer time. So there is risk of developing or the rise of antimicrobial resistant bugs. And being the closed spaces, there is risk of infection to the other babies and also in the communities. Think about it that, if a baby with multi-drug resistant infection goes from one neonatal ICU and gets shifted to another NICU, the same bug goes to another NICU. So there is a risk of transmission of infection in the communities. So there's a short-term economical burden, there is a long-term economical burden, and loss to the family. Hence, the only way out is that we do the prevention, we do the surveillance, and we practice antibiotic stewardship or rational antibiotic use. Unfortunately, regulatory systems in India are not very strict. You can get antibiotics on just a prescription. And even in the hospital also, in the Western society, if I prescribe antibiotic, they have to be signed by the microbiologist or the clinical microbiologist or the infection disease expert. And without 2 or 3 signatures, the antibiotics will not be used, will not be released. And also that, we have first line of treatment, second line of treatment, and then there are certain antibiotics which are in the reserved section. So for using those reserved section, we have to be very, very rational, because as Dr. Saini very rightly put, that we are out of new molecules. And it's not very likely that we get many new molecules. And unfortunately, in the NICUs, we are faced with gram-negative infections. As you know that there are gram-positive and gram-negative infections, and gram-negative infections are more likely to be multi-drug resistant. So that's why, the Indian NICUs are facing a problem of multi-drug resistant infections. And unless and until we have very strict regulatory system, we have strict surveillance, and we really practice very, very astute antibiotic stewardship program in all the NICU and in all the hospital, where the clinician, the microbiologist, and the infection ID person are a team who look after. So that, writing and prescribing antibiotics is not just in the hand of one single clinician, but he knows that there is a statutory body, there is somebody who's regulating it. So I think for the future, it is very important that we look at the antibiotic resistant bugs, which are, in every sphere, newborns, adult, old people. It is increasing, and it's going to be one of the major problems, and also a problem for the treatment failure, prolonged hospital stay, and mortality and long-term sequelae.
I think that's really well explained. I think, Ravi, now that Dr. Chakravarti, Dr. Saini and Dr. Clare have explained us, we know how important it is. While we should be, using antibiotics, Ravi, very responsibly, talking about prevention, when Dr. Clare said we need to focus on that. If you can tell us, the impact, what you feel when it comes to something as basic but very critical as hand hygiene as a preventive way, so that we can reduce the intake of antibiotics.
Thank you, Ambika. And this subject of AMR is of significant importance to the country, where we have a population of around 1.4, and when I see our 10 years of partnerships have given huge results in terms of increasing the knowledge, attitude, behavior and practice of the school kids on hygiene, where we focused our programs on hygiene at home, hygiene in neighborhood, personal hygiene, hygiene during illness. This is one of the very important times when we also integrate the communication and the nudges on the AMR.
Yeah.
And through our various purpose-led initiatives, we take the messaging on AMR and hygiene to the new moms, to the school teachers, to the schools, to the principals, and to the DIETs, which are the District Institutes of Education and Training. As we know, children and elderly are the most vulnerable groups, so it becomes more responsibility. We focus on germs. We talk about why we should not consume the antibiotics, why we should restrain, why there is a need of the stewardship program, as well as in our modules, in the posters, in the books, in the games, in the hygiene play parks, what we have been doing over the period of time. It's important also to introduce the subjects on the AMR resistance. And there was a big debate, a few days back. I was in the field and with the teams. Should we just talk about the hand hygiene, or should we focus on bathing? Should we talk about the other subjects of hygiene and how big it should be?
Yes.
So, hand washing is the first step. And as Dr. Saini, Dr. Clare, Dr. Indra, after listening to them, I think it's very important. Bathing is also a very, very important subject, because overall you are trying to push the bacteria away.
Yes.
And you are trying to be healthy and hygienic. So more you are hygienic, you are actually focusing on the preventive health.
Absolutely.
If this is not taken care well, then the big plans of the country for the Ayushman Bharat may also crumble. Because there will be more in hospitalization, there will be more inpatients, there will be more drug resistance, there will be more situations where the cost per treatment per patient is going very high.
Yes.
And the tertiary hospitals will be loaded with the more number of subjects or the patients.
Yes.
So if there is a framework which we can come upon for the vulnerable sections, for the kids, for the elderly, so it will be very important, if we can work on. And I can put a promise. So before 2nd of October, when we are meeting again, we were working very closely with the working group of the team of Padam Shris and Padam Vibhushan doctors.
Yes.
definitely along with Dr. Saini and IMA,
Absolutely.
we'll be coming up with something which is which will be a directional thing, like how to introduce this subject to the kids, because this needs a whole battery of research.
Absolutely, Ravi. And as you've said kids, Dr. Claire, we spoke about infants. We'll just be going across to Ms. Sunita George, who's a principal, talking about kids as a father or, as parents very often. I think we struggle with this because they are the first line of caregivers. Dr. Saini, before we go to Dr. George, would you quickly like to tell us something about that?
About kids?
About parents, as caregivers. I think we all hear, as a mother, sometimes I struggle just telling kids, you need to wash your hands.
Rightly said by Mr. Ravi.
Yes.
That hygiene is very important. And hygiene starts from where? If we want to prevent AMR, we don't have the drugs, as I said. We don't have the drugs. So prevention is very important. And prevention starts from where? Prevention starts from home. So my parent, my mother, my father and the kids. Obviously, the education of kids is through their parents. And so they should know about hygiene. I know in the initial stages of my life, bathing was very important. Somewhere it is gone. So we have to be very careful about it, that our children should take a bath daily, maintain a hygiene in the environment, in the home. And secondly, I will say the clean water is also very important.
So I think that's a very important message for all parents as well. Like, really it starts at home.
And one more thing. One more thing, that we have to use soap and water. It's just having a bath with a water is not enough. The soap has an important role to play. It takes away my germs on my hand, slightly away from that. And the water wash it away.
So clean water and soap.
So
the
both
right
are
way.
important.
Yes, I think very important point. Thank you, Ms. George, for joining us. A question, you'll be talking about AMR. So as a principal, what strategies do you think schools can employ to spread more awareness about antimicrobial resistance, which is AMR, among students, teachers, and the wider community? And how can we work together to promote responsible antibiotic use?
Schools can do a lot, particularly in terms of spreading awareness. Because when we are talking today about AMR and, I feel it requires a behavioral change. This behavior of popping pills every time you're feeling unwell and taking antibiotics without a doctor's prescription has to change. And when we talk about behavior change, a lot can be done by the schools, particularly because we are impacted the most. We are seeing that children are taking longer to recover from infection, particularly after COVID. And hence it is important that we talk to our children about hygiene. We talk to them about washing their hands after you visiting washrooms. Talk to them about washing hands before they eat food. Also, a lot of awareness has to be created about vaccination, and I think that can become a very important part of the curriculum on how vaccines help. Also, case study on COVID. I think that's the best case study to talk about the impact and how vaccination has helped the entire country come out of COVID. Similarly, when we talk to children about microorganisms, and we have a topic on microorganisms in grade 6, 7, 8, I think it's important to talk to them about AMR. When we talk to them about antibiotics, we need to talk to them about judicious use of antibiotics. Emphasizing that prevention is better than cure, emphasizing the proactive approach rather than reactive approach. I think that is where the schools can play a big role, because habits are formed at a young age, and we interact with children right from the time they're 3.5-year-old. So schools can do a lot in terms of building a healthier and a fitter and a brighter future for our country.
Dr. Indra, we just heard what Ms. George had to say. If I can just ask you about hygiene, since we are talking about the prevention aspect, what Ravi was saying, what Dr. Saini was saying, how can we really bring about that shift when it comes to prevention, where and how, when we're looking at hospitals or communities, or like Ravi was saying, in the vulnerable community?
You see, Ambika, if you look into the importance of AMR now, I think the whole world is looking at it, and Dr. Saini would agree. We have the Global Action Plan, created the gap with the 4 major agencies, WHO, FAO, UNEP, everybody coming in. We have the the surveillance system put in place. And as far as I know, 176 countries have already formed national plans. But we must understand that hygiene is the root cause of AMR. It's root cause. Because of poor hygiene, there is infection. Because there is infection, we use all kinds of drugs against bacteria, against virus, against parasites, against fungus. Just not bacteria, they are all against all the 4 microorganisms you have to use drugs. So it's a huge use which is coming in, and I think that is where use of this has to, you see, putting a little pun into it, everybody has a right to live. Now when we are trying to kill a microorganism, the microorganism wants to live, it doesn't want to die. So the moment a drug comes to kill it, the killer drug, it wants to protect itself, it genetically mutates itself. So there's nothing wrong that the microorganism wants to prevent itself from getting killed. So it's a right of that to live in this world. So I think that way, if we use drugs, they are going to mutate even further. If you use new drugs, they'll again mutate. So they will want to live as long as possible. And that's why I think hygiene is a thing where you have to prevent it right at the root cause. And hand hygiene is most important, because through hand we get everything. Surface hygiene is also very important because you touch around everything. Hygiene during respiratory infections is again extremely important. Food hygiene is very, very important, some of these things. So unless we have all of these together, and environmental hygiene of course, to prevent our soil, our water, everything getting. So I think hygiene at every step is very important, and proper hygiene, like hand washing with soap is a must, not just hand washing. And I think if, as Ravi said, if children are taught on these issues, during COVID I remember, if you taught children, they still do it. My grandson still does it. Wash hands before he comes to me. So I think if children are taught at this age, they will remember it. So all kinds of hygiene. And I think one more thing I like to add here, it's just not giving drugs to patients, but people also throw away the used material, like the syringes, the medicine bottles, where you have these drugs into the environment. It goes to soil, it goes to the water, it goes from water to the food. So there also, the moment these drugs go into the water, which are not being given to human beings, but as a waste, there also, whatever microbes are there, they will form resistance to it. So it's not only just giving it to people through drugs. So, and I think the most important thing is caregivers, hospital caregivers. They are because they are dealing with it all the time. Maximum infections are there because all the patients come there. So I think the caregivers in the hospital have a very, very critical role to play, along with others, the whole community. Otherwise, infection and proper disposal of the waste material is also a very important thing.
I think what you've said is very important. Taking from what Dr. Indra, you've said about the caregivers, Dr. Saini, I would like to come to here to ask you. I mean, of course, prevention is key, hygiene is important, we've spoken about it. But, if you can tell us, how can healthcare providers balance the need to treat infection also while minimizing the misuse of antibiotics?
One is rightly said by, I think, antibiotic stewardship program.
Okay.
All hospitals should have antibiotic stewardship program. And secondly, utilizing the diagnostics, because lab has an important role to play in curtailing the antimicrobials. If I diagnose well the infection, if I diagnose the antigen or PCR activity, we use the modern system of diagnosing the infection, then it becomes easier because I know I am treating infection or not.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what is happening, 80% of times we do not need antimicrobials, especially in a OPD settings. But you find in all prescriptions, 70% of times they are being used, overuse. As a healthcare professional also we have to learn, we have a responsibility, but sometimes we come under the pressure of a patient. Sometimes we feel that because this infection is prevailing, but diagnosing properly is very important, and for that lab has to be, I think, come up in that direction also. We don't have quality labs, especially for microbiology.
Yeah.
So we have to have a good labs, and then as a doctor I have to emphasize, now the counseling of the patient is also very important for me. Sometimes we don't spend that much of time emphasizing that I am writing this antimicrobial, because other medicine I may stop anytime as a patient. But I have to tell that this is antimicrobial counseling of a patient. You have to take this antimicrobial in a particular weight, in a particular frequency, and for how many days. Escalating and de-escalating. A very, very important step for as a clinician for me to curtail this. And secondly, I will say still we have some infection control practices in the hospital. There are AMR committees there. But unfortunately, for the general public, there is nothing. So community awareness programs are very important. For that, programs like yours, program like Dettol, Swachh Bharat, they are very, very important. The community has to come forward. CSR activity has to come forward in the AMR. Otherwise, we'll be dealing with the pandemic in 2050, where more than 1 crore people will die every year.
I think very, very important points, how doctors need to be more responsible. As a community, what we need to, and most importantly as patients, very often we tell the doctors, oh, give us an antibiotic, we'll heal faster. So I think awareness really is the key. Well, we're taking a really short break. When we return, we'll explore the pivotal role that individuals, schools and communities can play in preventing and addressing antimicrobial resistance. From raising awareness to implementing proactive measures, we'll uncover how collective action can make a powerful difference in combating these growing public health challenges.
By all of these auditors.
SEBI is seeking more information on the trades and the all the transaction which has happened from the exchanges, both NSE and BSE.
The Reserve Bank of India's supervisory officers, they are seeking compliance reports on their foreign currency borrowings by these banks.
The DSS is, actively engaging with the Reserve Bank of India to sort of ensure the thorough examination of the matter.
IndusInd Bank, as part of its internal review, had found that certain aspects of its derivatives portfolio was not meeting the standard that was set by the Reserve Bank of India.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard.
All the parties should.
Welcome back. You're watching a special on NDTV Dettol Banega Swasth India on World Health Day. Ravi, I want to come here to you. You know, we've seen the work Dettol Banega Swasth India does on ground with schools, the communities, talking about the prevention, right? What strategies can be implemented so that children can start learning early and we can combat the effect of AMR?
Ambika, first thing first is it's very important to understand whom we are working. Children are very sensitive. There's a way this problem needs to be addressed with the children. We need to find the child-friendly ways. We need to find the nudges. We need to do more behavioral research. We have a lot of insights from our work from last 10 years on the disease prevention. We are also seeing like there is a huge difference between the states. The education systems are different. I'm very thankful to the new education policy, where there's a lot of focus on the local language and the local content. So earlier, like, it was very, very difficult to focus on, like in English, you are teaching anyone and everyone, or in Hindi. Now, like if you are there in, in Tamil Nadu, you will find like, you have Tamil as a language and English as an alternative to teach the subject. Similar way in Uttarakhand, if you are working, you have Sanskrit also and you have Hindi also to teach, as well as English. So there's a lot of work which is to be done first to understand the problem.
Yes.
Because as per best of my knowledge, baselines do exist, but baselines do exist with the adults. There will be more studies which are required on what's happening on the school floors, because hundreds and millions of germs will be there in the school floors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There will be more germs in the school toilets. There will be more germs on the hands. There will be more germs on the bodies. There are the more germs when you are actually playing outside. So the relevance of hand washing, the relevance of bathing, the relevance of hygiene as a subject is more and more and more. So, but it's very important to establish it also, because people ask you, what's the proof?
Yes.
So proof point is when you work with the academia, when you work with the research organizations, when you work with the medical associations like AMR and others. So that give you a proof point. So what's the impact of bathing on the AMR? What's the impact of clean surfaces in the schools, in the communities, in the Anganwadis, in the medical centers, in the PHCs, in the wellness centers? So these all need to be studied. And there's a huge role of microbiology in that.
Yes.
And again, kids nowadays, they really love STEM-based education. This is a different India. This is a different Bharat. So when you can bring germs in a non-threatening way to the kids and to their parents, and if you are able to explain to them, why do they exist and how we can get rid of them and what are the preventive steps, so that will be something which is fabulous.
Yes.
One of the discussions which I remember when Dr. Saini was training all the leadership who is working under the Dettol Banega Swasth India program across India. There were people from around 22 states in India who attended his programs. So one thing came commonly, like, there is a huge risk of bringing germs closer to the kids while you are educating. If there is a way which is non-threatening in nature, by the virtue of that, you can actually show kids what the germs are.
Yeah.
Because there are bioethical considerations also. You actually can't bring the live germs.
Yes.
So what are the ways? Thankfully, with all this AR, VR, technology, you can actually show it to them. They can experience it. They can communicate to the germs. And that's the beginning of the new era where, it's not one-sided communication on the germ kill or on the germs or on this subject, but something which is more meaningful and which is a dialogue.
Yes.
And kids love dialogue. Kids love the superheroes. And if you ask many kids, they say, my superhero is my dad. My superhero is my mom. My superhero is my teacher. My superhero is my maternal aunt. My superhero is my grandparents. We need more superheroes for the kids who can talk to the kids about hygiene as a subject,
yes,
but definitely in a non-threatening way. And this whole it should be one of the main things which needs to be driven.
Absolutely.
And any brand which is working towards hygiene, maybe it's hand hygiene, maybe it's menstrual hygiene, maybe it's oral hygiene, maybe it's any other kind of hygiene or the environmental hygiene. Every player has a role to play.
Yes.
And it's not just the role of those who are just working on the human health. People who are working on the animal health, people who are working on the plant health, people who are working on the environmental health, everyone have a role in this whole,
and everybody
thinking.
must take that seriously because it is very, very critical. Ravi, I think amazing work what DBSI is doing, and thank you for sharing that. Dr. Claire, just want to come to you. We often talk about the physical impact of AMR, and that's what we've been discussing here in studio. But when we talk about children, how do you think AMR affects the emotional and psychological well-being of kids, particularly those who have experienced, repeated infections or prolonged hospitalizations?
Yeah. Repeated infections would mean more missing the school. And also in a newborn baby, multi-drug resistant infections mean that prolonged stay in the hospital, more financial burden, and also the long-term effects of the multi-drug resistant infections. But in terms of children, I think it impacts them because, if you see children who have repeated infections, whether they are viral infections or they are bacterial infections, it impacts them seriously because they miss their school, they miss their playtime, and that affects them emotionally. And not only that, it affects emotionally the families also. Adding cost, repeatedly going to the hospital or attending the clinics has a negative effect on the children, on the families, on the community. Unfortunately, a lot of time the infection is there, but it is a viral infection. And many a times doctors write viral infection, viral fever, and they prescribe antibiotics. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Because antibiotics don't treat infection, don't treat the bacterial infection. So viral infections, most of the viral infections do not have treatment. So a viral upper respiratory catarrh, whether you give antibiotics, you don't give antibiotics, take the same time.
Yes.
That has to be engraved not only into the patients, but also into the doctors, because many doctors also overprescribe. I liked the way Dr. Indira said that, hand washing should be our culture. And, many cultures are taught in the school. Children listen to what their teachers say more than what their parents say. So if in the schools you make sure that there is running water and there is soap available, and children before they eat their meals or after they play, they go and wash their hands, I think they will remember it. They'll remember it throughout their life. Also, in context of neonatal infections, most of the neonatal infections are early infections, and early infections come from the mother. And they are basically because of unclean delivery, unclean vaginal examination, and the unclean environment in the delivery room. So I think in 20th century, at least in the delivery room, we should have 24/7 running water and soap available. That should be the minimum.
I think very, very...
And apart from that, sorry.
No, I think very critical points you put out there, Dr. Claire. You were saying something.
Sorry?
You were saying something. Sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, in context of mother and newborn, I think it is very, very important that, the delivery rooms have to be very hygienic.
Yes.
24/7 water and soap should be available in them. It should be engraved into the minds of the health workers that, before doing anything, they have to wash their hands. And, not only wash the hands, like in busy NICUs, sometimes we feel that, in every shift, a nurse may have to wash hands something like 200 times if she is washing her hands every time she touches the baby. So at least hand sanitation, that is using of alcohol rub or an antiseptic, is very important. But when the hands are obviously soiled, then they should be washed.
Well,
So
thank
I
you so
guess,
much, Dr. Claire, for explaining us that really well, because, you know, it really starts from there, what you've told us about the mother, you know, also taking care, first point of contact. Briefly, we're running out of time, Dr. Saini, but I want to ask you the role as, you know, as individuals we can play, what steps should be taken to, we've spoken about awareness, but the steps that actually can be taken.
As individual or as family?
Both.
Two things, both important. One is preventing infection. Preventing infection, one, take care of vaccination, because vaccination prevent infections. We have not talked about it, vaccination. We emphasize on child vaccination, that's there. But we are not emphasizing on adult vaccination also. Adult vaccination is also important because it prevents disease. Secondly, everybody talked about hygiene, hygiene and hygiene. Yes, and hygiene is very important. My 5 moments of hand hygiene, they are very important. The third one is, if the infection has occurred, please take the advice of a doctor. Do not take every infection, do not need medicine. And every time when you have a problem, it is not infective. So we have to understand, antibiotics will affect only when there is an infection. And that too, in all infections, they are not required. 70% of times, you do not need antibiotics. And do not pressurize the doctor to take antibiotics. And secondly, thirdly, if you have any time, the last time you had somebody has prescribed you antibiotics, do not take that antibiotics because it may not be required now. And when you have been advised antibiotics, then take it judiciously, means number of times, the number of times in a day when they are asked you, and number of days. Because it's not like paracetamol, once again, okay, you take once in a day, or sometime whenever you have a problem, you take it. Once it is started, it has to be taken for a particular duration and particular time.
So we have equal responsibility here as individuals and families. Very well said. Dr. Indra, last word to you when it comes to, we've been talking about the misuse of antibiotics, but if I can ask you, what policy changes or interventions do you recommend when it comes to misuse of antibiotics? Briefly, if you can tell us.
Very quickly, I think people have been talking, all of us have been talking about hygiene. So I think hygiene education should be very targeted, not just a general thing, as Ravi also mentioned. Very targeted hygiene education for everyone. Hand hygiene, surface hygiene, overall cleaning, bathing, very targeted hygiene education, number one. Number two, overall public health education. So that, you know, it's impacting on the entire environment. So public health education, very important for the people, for the doctors, for the healthcare workers. And I think lastly also proper disposal. Of all used material, so that the drugs do not pollute our environment, which are leftovers, which are, you know, thrown away. Those have to be very properly disposed. The medical waste has to be very properly treated so that it doesn't further pollute the environment. And lastly, that will impact the food also, that will impact the water also. So I think all these three are critically important.
Really well explained. Thank you all so much, you know, for sharing your expertise. Thank you so much, Dr. Claire and Ms. George, for joining us. Thank you, Ravi, Dr. Indra and Dr. Saini for joining us today. I think it's really critical as individuals as well, you know, as doctors, everybody needs to work. And rightly, like you said, Dr. Saini, about, you know, we cannot let AMR become a pandemic. Thank you all so much for joining us.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
He sold most of his stock, 80%, as on that date.
We have requested the management to come and speak to us. They asked us, what questions will you ask? We've sent it to them. They don't want to answer it, so then let's put it to our viewers as well.
7 key questions, right? How is it that 2,000 crore goes unnoticed by all of these auditors?
Is seeking more information on the trades and the all the transaction which has happened from the exchanges, both NSE and BSE.
The Reserve Bank of India's supervisory officers, they are seeking compliance reports on their foreign currency borrowings by these banks.
The DSS is, actively engaging with the Reserve Bank of India to sort of ensure the thorough examination of the matter. And
IndusInd Bank, as part of its internal review, had found that certain aspects of its derivatives portfolio was not meeting the standard that was set by the Reserve Bank of India.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. My name is Kitty Behel. We are starting this edition with our top focus here. The Madras High Court has extended comedian Kunal Kamra's interim protection from arrest till April 17th in connection with an FIR lodged in Mumbai over his traitor jibe and Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister. Earlier, the court had granted him interim transit protection on March 28. Now, we understand the next hearing will take place on April 17th. Well, the Madras High Court has extended the interim protection from arrest for Kunal Kamra till April 17th. Now, my colleague Radhika is also now joining us on the broadcast. She is getting us more from the court. Radhika, what more do we know about what happened in the court? His interim protection from arrest, of course, now has been extended. What arguments were given by Kunal Kamra's lawyer?
That's right. Some sort of relief for Kunal Kamra once again. His relief has been extended by another 10 days. Remember, he had approached Madras High Court with a transit anticipatory bail application a few days back. It was given till April 7. He was residing in Tamil Nadu. He said that he is not in a position to approach or to cooperate with the Mumbai police as he'd been receiving threats, and he was given relief till April 7th, and today the matter came up once again before the Madras High Court, and his relief has been extended till April 17th. The court was told of the petition he's filed before the Bombay High Court, which is very important. Kunal Kamra has approached the Bombay High Court as well with a different plea which seeks quashing of cases against him. It spoke about how these cases are violative of his right to freedom of speech and expression. It's illegal and it is incorrect, and therefore these cases must be quashed, is a plea that he had given to the Bombay High Court. That plea will be heard by the division bench of the Bombay High Court tomorrow. While mentioning that plea, today the counsels of Kunal Kamra also said how this is a serious and severe case. This pertains to how Kunal Kamra had been receiving multiple threats over a joke that he cracked, and this is about freedom of speech and expression, which the Mumbai police has violated, which the state government has been violating with these cases. So therefore, yes, remains to be seen what will happen in the Bombay High Court. He has interim relief, but most importantly, the quashing of case against him will come up for hearing tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Radhika, for getting us all those details there. We'll get back to you later as more updates come in. Meanwhile, it's time for a quick break. Yeah, more news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. Empuran producer is under ED scanner. He has been raided by the...
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard.
All the parties should accept their verdict with all humility.
Why the opposition to it? Why taking big steps?
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time.
Hello and welcome to The Southern View. I'm Veera Raghav.
This is the news break and I'm Vasudha Venugopal.
This is The Last Word and I'm Maria Shakib.
Left, right and center, and good evening and welcome.
It's a prime time that's unmissable.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
The 2000.
Empuran producer under ED scanner. He's been quizzed days after recovering 1.5 crore from the officers. After the video of a woman being molested on a street in Bengaluru goes viral, Karnataka Home Minister's dismissive remark triggers outrage. He says such incidents keep happening in big cities. ED raids realty firm linked to Tamil Nadu minister's skin. DMK cadre gathered outside minister's house in protest. Tamil Nadu law minister says ED is BJP's alliance partner. Madras High Court extends interim protection for comedian Kunal Kamra. 10-day extension has been given for protection from arrest. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee meets teachers amid the showdown in Bengal over teachers' recruitment. Mamata says nobody will lose jobs as long as I live. BJP carries out protest march. Nifty Sensex slump over 4% amid tariff tremors. Global markets plunge as trade war worries mount. Investors lose over 16 lakh crore rupees in early trade today. We have some big breaking news now coming in. We are learning the bail has now been extended for rape convict Asa Ram. Rajasthan High Court has now extended the bail for Godman Asa Ram. He has been given medical bail in January 2025 and that now has been extended on medical grounds. We understand Asa Ram has been in jail for quite a long time and he's in jail on rape charges. He's been convicted in the case and he is 90 plus years of age on medical grounds. We understand this bail extension now has been given. Well, Asa Ram was given medical bail in January earlier this year and after which we understand bail now has been extended to him on medical grounds further. He's been given bail till 30th June, we understand. My colleague Harsha is also now joining us on the broadcast here. Harsha, what more do we know? What more information?
Well, you know, Asa Ram, who was serving a sentence, the sentence that was given to him was that he should be in prison until death because of the case against him by a minor. But in between, because he's more than 80 years old and his health has not been well, so the court has given him conditional. In the middle, they gave him parole, and now they also gave him bail for health treatment. He came back to Jodhpur. He surrendered before the court, but because he had a problem with his foot, he said that there was a problem that had happened with his foot, and he was not well. So he got admitted to a private hospital. And then, of course, the court was satisfied with that and has now extended his bail till the 30th of June. So 1st July is when it ends and he will have to again surrender before the authorities. But till then, he's got an extension on his bail on grounds of ill health and also on grounds that he is very aged.
All right. Thank you so much, Harsha, for getting us those details there. That comes as a bit of a relief for Godman Asa Ram, who's been in jail for quite a long time. And on medical grounds, we understand now his bail has been extended further. Shifting our focus now to some more news that we're tracking here. ED has now questioned film Empuran's producer Gokulam Gopalan. AM Gopalan, who's popularly known as Gokulam Gopalan, was questioned by the ED at his Kochi office in Kerala today. ED had also conducted searches against the producer's residence and his offices last week for his link in a chit fund company, and after these searches the ED had recovered about 1.5 crore rupees in cash. My colleague Uma is also now joining us, getting us more on this big development that's now coming in. We understand, Uma, ED has questioned Empuran producer Gokulam Gopalan after 1.5 crore rupees were recovered from his offices last week. How long did this questioning go on? Any information that's coming out about the line of questioning?
So the Enforcement Directorate office in Kochi is where Mr. Gokulam Gopalan went this morning, and when he was going in, some media people also confronted him and got him on camera and asked him why he was being questioned, and he said that he has done nothing wrong, and he walked inside, and he was also asked about the 1.5 crore rupees that was seized, and he said that is just like that. But I must point out that the context of Gokulam Gopalan, he's not just the producer of Empuran and certain other films which have done done well as well. He's also into real estate and chit funds. And what we saw on Friday was raids on 2 offices in Chennai and 1 office in Kozhikode in Kerala. And there are, of course, offices of the Sri Gokulam chit funds all over the country, Maharashtra, Telangana, and also other parts of the country, including the north of the country as well. And what I understand is that there is allegation in this particular case that he had violated provisions of the Foreign Exchange Maintenance Act. And what that means is that they had collected money in the form of cash as well as in other forms from depositors outside the country. And that is something that is not agreed upon or acceptable under the law, that it violates the RBI guidelines. And it also says that to the extent of more than 1100 crore rupees, they had tried to, in a sense, evade tax by not showing those in the records. And that's the reason why he is allegedly being questioned now. And what I must also point out is that, this comes, of course, soon after the content of the Empuran film came in for voluntary cuts of up to 24.
Absolutely, there has been a lot of controversy over that, and after which we understand now these raids have also taken place, and the Empuran producer was also questioned today. And this, of course, we understand is being questioned by many. Many critics have been pointing out that this is against freedom of speech and expression, and that is why these raids have been taking place. But yes, we understand there is much more that the ED says it needs to investigate against the producer also in connection with this chit fund company. Thank you so much, Uma, for getting us all those details there. We'll come back to you later for more. Shifting our focus now amid the outrage over a video in which a man is seen groping a woman on a Bengaluru street before running away. Karnataka Home Minister G. Parameshwara has now said that such incidents happen in big cities. This remark has sparked a huge outrage in a CCTV video that's now gone viral. It's on your TV screens. A man is seen following 2 women in an alley at the BTM layout neighborhood. Suddenly, he gropes one of the women while another tries to defend her. The man then runs away. Now, Karnataka Home Minister's insensitivity has raised several big questions about the law and order situation in the state and also about the attitude of the state government towards women's safety.
ನಾನೀಗಾಗಲೇ ಪ್ರತಿನಿತ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿನಿತ್ಯ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇನೆ, ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಬೀಟ್ಗಳು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಮಾನಿಟರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಏರಿಯಾ ಕೂಡ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲಿಂಗ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಶಿಸ್ತಿನಿಂದ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಘಟನೆ ಆದಾಗ ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಜನರ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಗಮನವನ್ನು ಸೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡೋದಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ. ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. 24/7 ಮಳೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಚಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವರು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಶಾಂತಿ ಇದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಘಟನೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪಟ್ಟಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಘಟನೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ಕಾನೂನು ಪ್ರಕಾರ ತಗೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಬೀಟ್ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆನೂ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು
incident with regard to the groping of a lady which has happened in Bengaluru is really a condemnable incident. In this direction, the response of the Karnataka State Home Minister, Mr. Parameshwar, is really disgusting. And it is very demotivating. Seeing the state of affairs of the Home Department and the law and order is not creating any confidence for any Bangaloreans or for Karnataka people.
Sexual assault by anybody in the city of Bangalore or Karnataka or India is not acceptable to Congress and Kannadigas. We will not tolerate. Parameshwar Saab, when he is speaking, I was surprised when you people are telling me this. He may speak softly, but he is not a person to be soft. He is very tough on his job, and he will definitely take it to a logical end. And Bangalore city people and the state of Karnataka should be very sure that we will not allow these things to continue, or they cannot get away from this kind of things. And Parameshwar Saab will definitely take a strict action against the person. And women activists, I want to say women activists also, that don't go by his statement, go by his actions.
What do we do then? Because when a statement like this comes by, there is going to be reactions to it.
No, that is
but
why,
do you think it's right of him to make a statement?
No, it is not at all right if he has taken a statement very light as such much. We will not agree with this, and act what has been committed by the particular gentleman who has gone and molested a woman is not acceptable at all. He cannot be called a gentleman as such, because this is not an act which will be accepted so easily.
Well, when you hear of a crime like this, the women, of course, are most affected in the city. They would want to ensure there's a safe environment, but crimes against women have been periodically on a rise. But more importantly, when a politician makes a statement saying such a big city, such crimes do happen, that is something that will affect the women probably most deeply. I'll take this question straight across to a few of them who are here with me. How long have you been in Bengaluru? When you see 18 years you've been here. So when you look at a crime like this come to the fore, what comes to your mind? And then a statement from the Home Minister who says such a big city, such crimes can happen.
It's very disheartening because most of us, we are here coming from our small places just to look for a livelihood, earn for our living. Maybe many of us are breadwinners, and it's basically work that takes us out. And especially when a city like this, when someone is stepping out at 1 a.m. or 1:30 is probably because of work, or there is no other way, because by now we know where to go, where not to go, because we know when things go wrong, everybody is going to wash their hands off. So we girls take care of ourselves, and especially when we are here for work, we at least we look for a safer environment where we can thrive.
I can say it's not only responsible for police and politicians. We are as a human being in their home also, sisters are there, mothers are there. They have to see other women in that prospect way. These many things, it won't happen. See, we are coming to Bangalore to survey our lives. So whatever jobs they are getting, it's a mid shift or night shift, whatever it is, sometimes we have to come out without anyone help. So if there is no safety, then we have to think if you go on the morning also.
I think that the comment made by such and such people, it's quite neglectful on their part, and I think that safety shouldn't just be an issue, it should be a norm in this big city. At the end of the day, if you're talking about respect for women and support from the society, I think that it should be a norm for keeping the women safe. Why should I as a woman think about my safety consistently, even when like I have work or I'm just going out for a stroll? I'm not doing anything, or based on my looks, you don't have the right to just harass me. So at the end of the day, safety should be a norm. It's not that a big city there are crimes like this. Such crimes shouldn't happen. If India is progressing, the mindset should also progress. So instead of like thinking about, women shouldn't go out at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., at the end of the day, we are humans and we have the right to just go out whenever we want. So it shouldn't be a choice. It should be a right and it should be respected. At the end of the day, men think that it's okay to do whatever they want, whenever they want to a woman. It doesn't give them the right. At the end of the day, even you have a sister, you have a mother, you have a family, and you know women are respected. They should be respected. It shouldn't be like, okay, I have done something like this, it'll just get carried over. I think the responsibility from the government should be there towards such crimes, and there should be more stricter punishments and penalties for such things. It shouldn't be just carried over and there are a stack of papers and it's just left there and then dekha jayega, theek hai, baad mein whatever happens will happen and all. It shouldn't be that neglectful.
A lot of outrage over the Karnataka Home Minister's remark there, and we've had voices coming in from the ground. My colleague Deepak Bopana has been tracking all the developments here after the statement was made by the Karnataka Home Minister. All right, we have some more news that we're tracking here. The ED has conducted searches at multiple locations connected with Tamil Nadu Minister K.N. Nehru and his son, who's a Lok Sabha MP, Arun Nehru. We understand the searches were reportedly conducted in connection with the 22 crore rupees bank fraud case. The ED raided multiple premises in Tamil Nadu as part of its probe against a real estate group promoted by the brother of DMK Minister K.N. Nehru. My colleague Sam Daniel is also now joining us on the broadcast here, getting us more on that. Sam, any information that's coming out about the ED raids? What has the ED been able to find? What have they been looking for?
Not yet, Kitty. No official statement yet from the Enforcement Directorate after several hours of the searches which are still underway. We understand the searches are at the residence of the Tamil Nadu's Municipal Administration Minister K.N. Nehru, his son MP Arun Nehru's house, besides his two brothers, Ravi Chandran and Manivannan. And these searches happen not just in Chennai, but also in their hometown, Trichy, and his younger brother Manivannan's place in Coimbatore. And True Value Homes is the name of the real estate company his younger brother Ravi Chandran runs. And some sources indicate it's regarding a bank fraud or bank violation case, but there's no clarity who exactly is the target. Is it the entrepreneur brother or is it the minister himself? But the DMK has reacted sharply, saying that the Enforcement Directorate has now turned into a political party, just like an ally of the BJP, like AIADMK or TDP. And in the past, they have said the central government is deploying Enforcement Directorate on their political opponents, particularly in opposition rule states like Tamil Nadu.
An allegation that has been made by the opposition time and again.
The recent task raids by Enforcement Directorate in Chennai. And the opposition, of course, is using this issue as a corruption issue against the ruling DMK, but we'll have to wait for the official statement from the ED later today.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam, for getting us those details there. Well, these claims have been made by the opposition time and again, but we do understand now these raids have taken place at multiple locations connected with Tamil Nadu Minister and also Lok Sabha MP. Arun Nehru and KN Nehru, we understand. However, we'll wait for more information to come out, and my colleague Sam will be tracking all the latest on that. Well, shifting our focus now to some more news that we are tracking here. This is from West Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee met with a section of teachers at Kolkata's Netaji Indoor Stadium. She has promised to help save jobs of eligible teachers after the Supreme Court sacked thousands of them over charges of bribery. Well, Mamata Banerjee has said that she can be jailed for speaking out, but she won't let anybody snatch jobs from eligible candidates. Listen in.
আমাদের হৃদয়ও পাথর হয়ে গেছে। আপনাদের শোকে আমরা মানবিক মানুষ, মনে রাখবেন আমাদের রক্ত যেমন আছে, মাংস যেমন আছে শরীরে, আমাদের হৃদয়ে কিন্তু পাথর নেই। এবং তাই একথা বলার জন্য আমাকে জেলেও ভরে দেওয়া যেতে পারে, কিন্তু আই ডোন্ট কেয়ার। এখনো পর্যন্ত সুপ্রিম কোর্ট আমাদের জানাতে পারেনি কারা যোগ্য আর কারা অযোগ্য।
सीएम नहीं, टीएमसी का लीडर। ये सीएम होती तो 26,000 को लेकर मीटिंग करती। मानविक चीफ मिनिस्टर नहीं, शी इज द लीडर ऑफ टीएमसी। शी issued past against 7,000 person. The past issued from the Kadapada TMC office in Calcutta. All are TMC goons and some plaincloth Calcutta police team under the leadership of the puppet Manoj Verma.
Well, big breaking news now coming in. We are learning markets have closed in red. Nifty slides over 3% at close. Sensex plunges nearly 3% by the end of the day. Well, this is what we're learning. NSE, Nifty, Realty have hit nearly 1 month low. We understand that there have been big losses for investors. Today morning, we've seen how the markets came crashing down with about 16 lakh crore rupees lost in the morning itself. But we understand this, of course, comes in the backdrop of the tariff announcements that have been made by Donald Trump. And this is the latest now coming in. At the moment, we understand even as global markets crashed, as Donald Trump tariff blitz had sparked panic, we understand now markets continue to close in red. Nifty slides over 3% at close, and Sensex also plunged nearly 3% by the end of the day. Sakshi Bajaj, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast here. Sakshi, take us through the details.
Absolutely. We have seen a weak session of trade, where there was bloodbath on the Lal Street. We've seen the benchmark indices, the Nifty shot over 3%, the Sensex also slide around that level. We have seen both the benchmark indices witness immense weakness throughout the trading day. Remember, at close, in fact, we have seen marginal recovery as far as India's stock markets are concerned. because earlier in the day, we saw a much sharper slide for both our benchmark indices. Now, all sectoral indices have been firmly trading in the red and have shut shop also in the red. The volatility index spiked over 55% in trade today. And all this, because of course, India's stock markets were mirroring what is happening in the global stock markets. Remember, the global stock markets have plunged far further, far more than India's stock markets. And all of this is happening because Donald Trump, US President Donald Trump's tariff stance, he remains defiant on it.
The bloodbath continues, and we understand markets close now, but the markets are closed in red, and we understand this definitely is going to have more implications. We'll keep an eye on the developments there. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for getting us all those details there. Union Home Minister Amit Shah is speaking in Jammu Kashmir at the moment. Let's dip in.
आइडेंटिफाई करना, निरस्त करना, इसके लिए भी कई प्रकार के प्रयोग हुए और वो प्रयोगों को भी आज यहाँ पर देखा गया कि फैसिलिटी हुई। ढेर सारी बड़े ऊंचे टावर पर लाइटें भी लगाई गई हैं आप लोगों की सुविधा के लिए। बैरकों का भी आज लोकार्पण हुआ है और ये सब काम मुझे लगता है कि आने वाले 3-4 साल में, बैरक का तो खैर आज ही लोकार्पण हो गया, मगर टेक्निकल सपोर्ट जो आपको देना, ये आने वाले 3-4 साल में पूरी भारत पाक सीमा पर और बाद में भारत बांग्लादेश सीमा पर इसको पूरा करने का हम प्रयास करें। आप लोगों की त्याग, बलिदान, दृढ़ता और हौसला, इतने कटु मन के साथ, इतने नजदीक जो हमारे दुश्मन, इससे भारत को हमेशा बचाता है। मुझे भी बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आप लोगों को ये साथ, ये 2 कामों के लिए जब मैं विनय पोस्ट पर आया था तब आप सभी के साथ मिलने का भी मुझे मौका मिला और मैं देश भर में घूमता हूँ। एक प्रकार से मैं घुमंतु प्राणी हूँ, लोगों के साथ कई बार बात होती है, तो क्योंकि विभाग मेरा है, आप ये मानकर चलना, सरकार का सम्मान, प्रधानमंत्री जी का सम्मान तो बड़ा स्वाभाविक है, क्योंकि आप किसी के हिस्से हो और कठोर से कठोर, कठिन से कठिन दायित्व निभा रहे हैं। मगर कमोबेश देश के हर हिस्से में बीएसएफ के लिए बड़ा सम्मान का भाव मैंने मेरे संवाद में प्राप्त किया है और मैं मानता हूँ आप सभी इस सम्मान के अधिकारी भी है और उचित ही हमारी देश की जनता आपके प्रति सम्मान के भाव से देखती है। आपके प्रति इस सभी सम्मानों के साथ भी आपकी कठिनाइयां जो है वो आपकी ड्यूटी के साथ जुड़ी है, इसमें बहुत कमी नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि ड्यूटी।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah is in Jammu Kashmir for a 3-day visit. He's also reviewed the security situation in Jammu Kashmir and he is currently addressing the BSF troops there.
कुछ आपकी तकलीफें सुविधाओं से कम हो और कुछ सजगता आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी से समर्थित हो, इन तीनों क्षेत्र में भारत सरकार के बजट का कोई अंत नहीं, जो भी योजनाएं बीएसएफ बनाकर देता है।
All right, shifting our focus now to some more news that we're tracking here in the Madhya Pradesh fake doctor case that resulted in 7 deaths. Well, the Chief Minister of the state now has said that there is no delay in taking action and they've launched a massive manhunt for the fake UK doctor. He had performed over 15 surgeries that resulted in the death of 7 patients. And well, with that, it's time to wrap this edition. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Keep watching NDTV.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard.
All the parties should accept their verdict with all humility.
Why the opposition to it? Why taking big steps?
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time.
Hello and welcome to The Southern View. I'm Veera Raghav.
This is the news break and I'm Vasudha Venugopal. This is The Last Word and I'm Maria Shakim.
Left, right and center, and good evening and welcome.
It's a prime time that's unmissable.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're watching NDTV. The Congress government in Telangana has decided to approach the High Court seeking a probe into the menace of AI-generated images and videos. Meanwhile, markets have tanked in India, leading to more anxiety amongst investors, even as the tariff war plays out globally. All this and more coming out, but first, the headlines. Markets close in red. Nifty ends the day 3.4% in red. Sensex plunges nearly 3%. Emperor movie producer is under ED scanner now. After the video of a woman being molested and groped on a street in Bengaluru goes viral, Karnataka Home Minister's dismissive remark triggers outrage. As such incidents keep happening in big cities, BJP has hit out, saying that Karnataka Home Minister's statement is highly irresponsible. ED raids realty firm linked to Tamil Nadu minister's relatives. In fact, DMK cadre has gathered outside the minister's house in protest. Tamil Nadu law minister has said that ED is BJP's alliance partner. Madras High Court meanwhile has extended interim protection for Kunal Kamra, 10-day extension for protection from arrest. Bengal showdown, Mamata Banerjee meets teachers. Mamata Banerjee says no one will lose jobs as long as she is alive. BJP carries out protest march, hits back, says this is a farce by Mamata Banerjee. Markets close in red today. In fact, markets have closed in red today. They started on a disastrous note. In fact, Nifty has also slid over 3% at close today. Sensex has plunged nearly 3% by the end of today. All sectors have been impacted. In fact, NSE has also hit nearly 1 month low. My colleague Sakshi Bajaj joins us with more details. Sakshi, which are the sectors which have been hit very badly? And also tell us, was this expected?
Hello?
Yes, Sakshi, tell us, was this expected and what are the sectors that have been badly hit?
But on last street, the whole trading session was one of a weak trading session, and Monday mayhem really that we witnessed for India's stock markets as well as the rest of the world. Remember, India's stock markets were only mirroring what was happening in the global stock markets. Now, having said that, we have seen the Nifty shut shop over 3% lower. We've seen the Sensex close nearly 3% lower. We've seen all sectoral indices witness deep losses, really.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sakshi, we'll have to go to Hardeep Puri, the petroleum minister, who's speaking now.
Go back to, say, early January, the crude price then was $83, which came down subsequently to $75. So the crude inventory that they're carrying is at $75 on an average per barrel. So, but if your question is going forward from here, if the price remains at $60 a barrel, as it is today or thereabouts, and I'm not going into the Indian basket or Brent, etc., I'm not going into that, then can you legitimately expect prices of petrol and diesel to be moderated by the oil marketing companies in keeping with the global price? To which my answer would be yes. In a deregulated sector, you can expect them to accordingly adjust the market retail price. But that's not the only reason why I've called you here. I have requested you to come because we have also had to look at some other areas for decision making. And I want to draw your attention. We'll be giving you a note. The note I'm using, I'm also going to share with you, both electronic copy and otherwise. You know, we have come a long way on LPG. There was a time when an LPG cylinder was an item which was rare, which you had to stand in a queue for, etc. When the Honorable Prime Minister assumed office, by today it's 60 or thereabout, 61 or 62. Yeah. But please let me complete, then you ask me whatever questions you want. So there was a time when, you know, you had to stand in a queue to get a cylinder, you had to use influence. Today, you can actually SMS, you can also do what we call IVRS, voice call. You can send a WhatsApp message and they will deliver a cylinder to you at your residence. The total coverage of LPG for the population, it stood at around 14 crores or 140 million in 2014. That has gone up to around 33 crores or 330 million. So if you go by the yardstick that you have one cylinder per connection per household, then the entire country is covered. In fact, I would say there's more than 100% LPG coverage. In addition to that, we have an Ujjwala scheme The Ujjwala scheme was introduced in 2016, and the Ujjwala scheme also has something like 100 million plus or 10 crore plus beneficiaries. And the advantage of the Ujjwala scheme and overall LPG connection is that today our brothers and sisters, more our sisters, they can have freedom from firewood, coal, cow dung, cakes, etc., all the traditional cooking fuels, which is not the case even in some advanced countries, where even though the country is developed, the rural countryside is still using firewood and coal, etc. Now, the LPG infrastructure in India, I just wanted to tell you, we have now gone from 55.9% LPG coverage in 2014. We have gone today to 107.4% LPG coverage. Number of bottling plants of our OMCs or oil marketing companies has gone up from 187 to 212. Number of LPG distributors in India was in 2014, we had 13,896. Today we have 25,554. The domestic LPG connections I've told you, the consumption in the country of LPG through the OMCs, it's 17.6 million metric tons. In 2014, it has gone up now to 30.4 million metric tons. Now I want to come to LPG pricing, and I think this is one of the subjects on which I wanted to have this exchange with you. The price of LPG. Now, LPG is the product which comes out of a refinery. When crude oil is refined, LPG comes out, petrol and diesel are also products of refineries. The international price of LPG, which has been determined by the Saudi CP international benchmark, has been going up. It went up from 415 metric tons, dollars per metric ton to $712 per metric ton, but we never passed it on to the consumer. We kept it exactly where it is, and I think the rate of increase has been moderated and absorbed by the OMC. As a result of which, last year, the OMCs had a loss of 28,000 crores because of the LPG are keeping the price of the gas cylinder, the 14.2 kilo gas cylinder under control, providing Ujjwala subsidy. They incurred a loss of 28,000 crores, and the government, through its provisioning, through the budget, we gave them 22,000 crores back. I just wanted to give you this background. Now, more recently, on 5th October 2023, the targeted subsidy on an LPG cylinder increased to 300 rupees, which in other words, and in the effective cost of a Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana cylinder came down to about 503 rupees, and for an ordinary cylinder to 803 rupees. Now, this has resulted in a cumulative loss of 41,338 crores last year. 41,338 crores. Madam, I'll be giving you these notes also. Whatever I'm using, you will have the same information. I'm just trying to set so that you can ask me questions. As a result of which, what has happened is that the Saudi CP international benchmark rose by 63% from 385 metric tons in July 23 to $629 per metric ton in February 25. It was a 63% increase. Whereas we brought the price of Ujjwala and the cylinder down. So, you are two simultaneously competing trend. International price is going up by 63% and our price is coming down. This is what resulted in the loss for 43,000 crores. So what are we planning to do? The statistics will give you all the papers, this thing. You compare the price of LPG cylinder in India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Even if you equalize the currencies in terms of their exchange rates, India, as I said, a normal cylinder was 803 for the normal cylinder. LPG cylinder 503. In Pakistan, it was 1080.59. In Bangladesh, 557.81. In Sri Lanka, 1218.09. In Nepal, 1206.39. The cost of cooking gas per day for a family, average family of 4 in India, was ₹6 and 10 paise. And the cost of cooking per day in a non-beneficiary, that is somebody who's not an Ujjwala beneficiary, is ₹14.58. Now, by any yardstick, that's a very reasonable price. And if you look at the cost comparison with neighboring countries, I've already given you ours. The thing has come down by 23% in our price at a time when global prices were riding. Pakistan, it rose by 5.53%, Bangladesh on ₹1.11, Sri Lanka by ₹10.60, Nepal by ₹5.73, and India it's come down. No, these are percentage. India it's come down 23.74. These are all percentage figures. I'm going to give them to you. Now, what has happened in Pakistan and all those countries, I'm giving you. What we have decided, therefore, is that the average price, not the average, the price per cylinder of LPG will increase by 50 rupees. In other words, from 500 it will go up to 550, and the other one will go up from 803 to 853. Now, this is a step which we will review as we go along. As it is, we review these every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And therefore, the excise duty that you have seen increase is not to go on to the consumer on petrol and diesel. As I kept telling you, that excise increase is intended to compensate the oil marketing companies for the 43,000 crore that they have incurred as a loss on the gas part of it. Now you will say, what will happen to petrol and diesel? As I told you, the inventories that they are carrying are 45 days old. The inventories are very clearly at a much higher price. My expectation is that petrol prices, even if they increase beyond 60, because this is an international evolving situation, they are unlikely to go back to 75. And if they are in the vicinity of 60 or 65, Madam was asking this question, is it 60 or 60? Just now I think it's 61 point something. But if 62, that's 61.89 is what I heard. Even if it goes up to 65, I think the oil